Hello everybody and welcome to this episode of Campus Connections. My name is Will Beeman, the production manager for College TV Fort Wayne, filling in for this episode. And Campus Connections is the College TV program where each episode we sit down with somebody throughout campus who either heads up a department or a program that is interesting and of value to our students. And today's episode, with a 2024 presidential election happening, I thought it'd be no better than to started off with Mike Wolf of the Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics. I think that's the full name for it, right? Okay, so Mike, thank you for joining me
great
today.
To be here.
So let's just start it off and kind of just have you explain what is the Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics on campus.
Yeah, so Mike Downs was the chair of political science for a couple decades, and he passed away in 2001. And friends and colleagues got together to start this center for the study of Indiana because he was so focused on the need to have people understand how politics affects their lives. So the mission statement, actually I'll read it if that's okay, because it really encapsulates what's going on. The Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics is the first nonpartisan center in Indiana devoted to helping the people of Indiana understand the wide-ranging impact of politics in their daily lives. And that's really what we do. So it's a fantastic approach. We've been doing this for over 20 years. Andy Downs, who was Mike Downs' son, had been the chief of staff for the city of Fort Wayne and got his doctorate in sociology and the sociology of politics. And so he headed the center for 20 years and really thrived. And we've had a ton of partnerships with other centers on campus, like with you guys, which has always been great, as well as the Community Research Institute and a lot of media organizations, Center for Collaborative Media, et cetera, to really try and bring the focus on politics and the way it impacts people's lives into the public.
Now, I want to highlight one thing that you had said in the mission statement too, because it's almost the quote-unquote most controversial part about the center is you are nonpartisan.
Absolutely.
So what's the importance of keeping nonpartisan and how does that help with the work that you do around here?
Yeah, so primarily because, particularly in these days of polarized politics, people wouldn't listen if it were pitched at one angle or the other. So, and in fact, one of the other components of this is to help candidates run for office and to give them nonpartisan advice about how to begin that process. And this includes third parties, et cetera. And a lot of our events involve not just the two major parties, but other parties. And we've done things in the past to try and help with some of the capacity building of getting voices out throughout Indiana through those mechanisms too.
So outside of helping candidates that are trying to run for office, what kind of research or events do you typically do?
Yeah, we do a lot of candidate forums in the past, debates. Andy was on the Indiana Debate Commission and actually hosted a gubernatorial debate. And so we've been really closely connected to that, as well as working with a lot of not-for-profits, League of Women Voters, and other organizations to try and make sure that we provide a space for people to feel comfortable to participate in politics as they wish, and to get to know politicians and others. We also have focused on oral histories, so this past semester, the public history program in the Department of History had a course that worked on using some of the collection that we have of political memorabilia to connect with somebody's political career, to understand what it's like to be a state politician. And in particular, they focused on one senator, Senator Weiss, who was a long-time state senator. And he met with the students and they went through different aspects of his legislative career running for office or some of the specific legislative programs he worked on. So it was a way to kind of see, in real life, how politics works and what the values were that went into that, both campaigning, governing, and connecting to constituents.
Right, that's awesome. So does that also mean the center has like an archived history of regional politics as well, or what's like the main focus? Is it local, regional, national, statewide?
It's usually local and state. And so we've actually increased. We have a number of research associates at other universities. So we have 5 other research associates that kind of, and they're just dispersed throughout the state to have some specialization in where they are, but also that, Indianapolis is the state capital, and we have a couple of colleagues there that, are tightly connected, and to make sure that our programming is kind of branching out everywhere that it needs to be. So that's been a real innovation that we've done in the last couple of years. And one of the big projects that we started with that is both the televised programs with you guys to make sure that we're seeing what's going on in the legislative sessions and kind of bringing that to people in real time. But as well, last year we did an organization day, and where it was helped with the Center for Collaborative Media on that one to really have, which is the day that legislators meet in November to plan out the legislative session that happens in the winter. And so we had experts there to kind of talk about what they thought were going to be some of the important items that would be going on during the legislative session. So we're going to be doing that in the future too. So we're really branching out throughout the state to make sure that that goes on. But we are, to your point, I hope I didn't interrupt you.
No.
We are also connected with some national organizations. So the National Issues Forum Institute and Kettering Foundation, we've been research partners with them for years to also bring national issues in this very polarized time, that we can kind of deliberate on those and provide a space for the public to deliberate prior to decisions being made by politicians, so that they understand the trade-offs and the benefits of different ways to go. So one of the first ones we did was for Electric Works, and Dr. Downs really held a bunch of sessions to hear from the public about what their feelings of the benefits and trade-offs of a big public investment on such a large scale that Electric Works turned into. And we've worked with Southwest Allen County Schools and others to kind of really focus on issues of education and other things, to hear from their public, so that there's a sense that things have been discussed and deliberated on before big decisions are made. In the case of Southwest Allen County Schools, the rebuild of Homestead High School and other investments in infrastructure.
Okay. So like students on campus, where can they go, and what kind of resources are available to them if they're curious in knowing the facts behind an issue or about a candidate?
Yeah, so one of the other things we do is programming on campus. So we just had one on the Roberts Supreme Court and constitutionality, and we try to have other things associated with the elections, both and civic life generally. We've hosted events about studies of the civic health of the state of Indiana and other partnerships to try and have students be able to come in. We've had student interns that have all done extremely well after this. Some more on the communication side, so we've had some communication, political science double majors that have gone on into more the public realm of not-for-profits and others. And I think the important connections we have offer a lot of opportunities for internships that students have done through the connections of the Down Center, both downtown Fort Wayne, whether it's with the city or not-for-profits, the state legislature. We've had people in Washington, at the United Nations. So some of that is through political science, and though the connections of the Down Center have been vital for that.
And then I do want to repeat for the show that it is a presidential election year, so it's not something that happens all the time. But for this coming November's election, is there anything special that you have to do to help out with these kind of things?
Yeah, so we've already had a lot of the candidate forums before the primary elections in May. So we had the congressional candidates and others. And then we also helped, after the passing of Mayor Henry, to have an event where the Democratic precinct chairs could hear from the potential replacement candidates. And so that's always, we partner a lot with the parties and others to try and make sure that we provide that open space. And so prior to the election this year, we'll be having some more open forums about, because it's a huge election year for Indiana. It's not just the fact that every member of the House of Representatives is running. We have state legislative races. We have all kinds of other things going. But importantly, at the presidential level, we also have a gubernatorial race and a U.S. Senate race. So to try and we could keep on going. There's other
Right.
executive offices too, Attorney General and everything. So, and oftentimes in these days, it's not easy for people to access that information, even though there's much more media obviously present. It's hard to break through sometimes without really good partners like you to help bring the message of what the impact and what the issues and what the candidates are on some of the state and local elections. So that's the kind of leverage we're trying to bring this year.
Right. And is there a way that, like, maybe resources through the center that maybe you could help students register for vote? Is there stuff like that goes on there too?
Yep, and we've often partnered with the League of Women Voters and others to have a presence on campus for that. So that it's entirely nonpartisan in that sense, and we're partnering with, you know, well-intended and really long-established groups that can do it and do in a way that, you know, students might be coming from other counties and others, so they can register in their home base, and obviously try to encourage some of these other programs like around Constitution Day and other things. So it's a really broad mission that we've done, and that's so we've already had partnerships that have already done some registration, and they'll be continuing, along with some of the information that they provide. So we're not replicating.
Right.
Like the League of Women Voters has a great site, Vote 411, where people can find out about their own candidate in their own areas, whether they're registered, how to register, everything else.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, just because I know traditionally Indiana usually has a lower voter turnout compared to other states. So
we're doing really bad in that. I mean, objectively, I mean that's the Civic Health Index just came out, and we are 46th and 40th. It depends on state legislature or statewide races or federal rate. And the problem is that we're going down in that. I mean, on every one of these trends, participation and registration levels are going down. So that the Civic Health Index and those groups are really trying to, and we want to help in any way we can. Particularly some of the reason down is competitiveness or people lack of awareness and other things. So we need to make sure that we're providing young voters and all voters of Indiana an awareness of what's going on.
Yeah, so the thing that I run into a lot with people that I know is a lot of people are convinced now that just their vote doesn't matter anymore. So what would you say, what resources would you point towards these kind of people to help them know that it matters more than it ever has, really?
Absolutely, and the sense is that if somebody doesn't vote, it's a no vote, right? And so, it's not that long ago where Indiana had great participation rates. The state legislature was actually the most competitive in many ways on many measures in the whole country. There was more moderation and working together of that, and then at the federal level, we saw some big races, both 2008, where a Democrat had won for the first time since 1964, and 1936 before that. So that was brought out a lot of interest. And then we've had some big Senate races in 2012, 2016, and 2018 with big, high competition on both sides. So whatever we can do to make people aware that it's not competitive if you're not part of it. And there's other ways to participate as well. So beyond voting, we'd like to connect people with other civic organizations so that it's beyond just voting, it's community engagement more broadly. And I think we've had some success. Our graduates in political science, certainly, that were connected with the center have gone on to do amazing things in the political world and not-for-profit world in particular to try and improve democracy around the country.
And then just two more things. So second to last, where can you be found on campus or online or anything like that? Where is that at?
So we have a website that's connected through campus, and just any Mike Down Center for Indiana Politics will pop you right in there. And that does provide, information about what we do and where we're going. And then also we try to have a large presence, at activities on campus. So we do have a center, but it's kind of not, open door and all that.
Right.
We'd certainly love to, and if anyone wants to see the collection, we're doing more. The library's done a great job of digitizing some of these collectible things. But in particular, you'll probably see us out at events that are happening on campus and off campus. We try to partner because there are some people in the community that may not be into coming to university campus. So we have things at the public library or other places too to make sure we're spreading it out. In fact, we're doing a talk at the extension office because there's groups that meet there. And so we want to meet people where they are, not necessarily have to have people come to where we are.
Right. And so the last question I always do is a similar one to a colleague of mine's, but like, what haven't I asked you? What's something important that you think people should know about the Mike Downs Center or the work that you're doing that I haven't asked?
Yeah, so it's a really innovative center. I mean, this is the first one in Indiana, and in an era where local media is continuing to kind of go by the wayside, people don't have much access to information about local and state politics, frankly. And a lot of times this is where your roads get paved, this is where your education gets done, and this is where public safety is provided. And so it's very crucial to people's lives to have a very functioning connection to their state and local government. And these days there's a lot that's kind of being missed on that realm as more of the national featured things that are often polarized come and kind of wipe out some of the information stream that occurs for state and local politics. So anything we can do to partner with people to not replicate, but to partner and bring that into more focus to help people with these decisions, and just whether they want to even run for office themselves or other things is what we need to do. So, and that's really the gap we're filling, and it's a huge one right now in American democracy that more centers like Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics need to kind of shore up our institutions like local media and other partnerships to make sure that people get registered to vote, legal voters. Community Research Institute, that there's not-for-profits and other organizations can have research done about what's needed in the community. We help with those type of research projects. So that we have a lot of different angles that we're moving in that are trying to improve democracy in Indiana.
Awesome. Well, you're a very important resource to the area, and I thank you a lot for joining me on this episode.
Sure. Great to be here.
So that was Mike Wolf from the Mike Downs Center for Indiana Politics on campus here at Purdue Fort Wayne. And that will do it for this edition of Campus Connections. Thank you for joining, and we will see you on the next episode. I'm Will Beeman.